Digital marketing has evolved so much over the years. However, the core foundation remains the same. You have to capture the lead, turn them into a customer, and then get them coming back for more business. This is the everlasting cycle of marketing and sales. Here at VBOUT, we empower you to run this cycle efficiently and at scale. My name is Richard, CEO of VBOUT, and I'm here to introduce you to our VBOUT certification course. In the next series of videos, I'll be walking you through personally of the entire platform so you can run it for yourself or for your clients if you're a digital agency. I'm confident that by the time you complete this course, you'll have all the building blocks necessary to run marketing automation like a champion. I'm really grateful for joining us here today, and I hope you enjoy this course. Thank you.
Landing pages are a great gateway for you to capture top of the funnel leads, such as event signups, paid ad click-through pages, downloadable gated content, and many other examples. I will cover in depth the landing page module, best practices, and how you can use it on VBOUT. However, in this particular setup video, I'm just going to show you how you can add your own branded domain. Now, the moment you create a landing page in VBOUT, we assign a default URL, which is a non-branded VBOUT type URL. It's going to look something like this, HTTPS, and note it's secured with the HTTPS at the end, lp.vbt.site, and there's the trailing ID for the page. Obviously, that's a good starting point if you don't have a domain or if you are unable to verify your own, but I'd rather use something with my own domain name in it. Now, this particular example here, it's using my own acronym, which I've already verified, but we're going to add an additional one just so I can explain how you can do this. Now, for this to be completed, you need access to your DNS authority. I'm using Cloudflare in my case, but if you're using GoDaddy, Bluehost, or your own hosting, you simply need login to that. From the top right screen, you can go to Settings. I'm going to choose domain or landing page domains. And you're going to see I already have a secured and configured subdomain with one active page on it. Now here you're going to see secured. That's what I referred to before as an HTTPS. And that's really important because all the engines of the world and paid ad campaigns, they do check if your pages are secured and you have HTTPS installed. So we do take care of that for you. Now you can add as many as you want. I'm going to just use events in this case, leadbuffer.com, and this could be anything. The most common ones are pages, events, info, LP for landing pages, or just the letter P if you'd like, but I'll leave it to you to get creative. Some people want to use our landing pages as a root domain, and that's quite simple. So you just do this, www, and you verify it. If you end up doing that, there's an additional setup that you have to do probably on your DNS authority that redirects all the traffic without www to this particular URL. I won't get too much in depth in this, but if you need help, you can reach out to our support. I'm going to do events and add. This is the one setup record that you have to include. It's a CNAME type record. And if you remember before, I talked about TXT type records. And this is just all the jargon that we use when we're running or managing our DNS. Okay, so if I add a record, the type is CNAME, the subdomain is events. Again, we did ask you to do events.leadbuffer. Now, Cloudflare is pretty good at this. So if I do events.leadbuffer.com, you see how over here they added it as an entire subdomain until I added the .com. They immediately figured out that I'm just trying to add events as a subdomain. In GoDaddy, this is not automatically handled, so you probably just add the word events. And the target is landing.vbt.io. And save. Okay. Now, one important thing to note, you're going to see on Cloudflare, and this is only a Cloudflare thing because they run proxy, and the way proxies run are slightly different. I just have to turn off this cloud by clicking on it. So that serves as a DNS. There's no proxying involved, and that should pretty much do it. Now, CNAMEs might take a couple of extra minutes to just propagate across the web. TXTs are quite fast, but CNAMEs usually take a little bit longer. Not too long, however. By clicking install, actually it didn't even take a minute. That's a good sign. That means the page and the DNS is properly set up. Now we're in the process of installing your SSL certificate and getting them done for you. That's it. Very easy. Now you can go ahead and start using that domain that you added for any landing page you create of VBOUT.
In this video, I will show you how you can use custom SMTPs with your VBOUT account. Once you've installed the add-on, you can see on the top right under settings, a new menu appear called Custom SMTP. Navigate your way there and you will notice an Add Custom SMTP option. I already configured one, so I can show you how it works. It is with SparkPost. It has the details here. I'm not using SMTP credentials, but instead I'm using an API key, which is a little bit more powerful. It offers more options and faster sending. I have 2 sub-accounts under me because I am an agency that are using this SMTP pool, and it is active. Now VBOUT allows you to configure multiple SMTPs. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on Add Custom SMTP. I'm gonna give it a name, and this name is for your own reference. So I can say this is SendGrid. And from the drop-down, you'll notice I have some pre-configured options, SparkPost, SendGrid, and soon I'll have Amazon SCS, and then custom. So you don't have to only use those providers. It can be literally anything. The only difference, if you use these providers, is we will provide a faster sending through API queuing. We will also provide a little more detailed tracking in terms of bounce backs, return bounce codes, and other tracking options. We will still track open rates and click-throughs, whichever option that you choose, but with those, SparkPost, SendGrid, and Amazon will have more analytics for you. I will choose SendGrid, and I'll have 2 ways to authenticate. One of them is the use SMTP credentials, or the other option, which is a little bit more, as I said, powerful, is the API key option. And if you've used SendGrid, you'll know how to generate an API key. I've already generated one for speed of this demo. I'm gonna paste it here, and this email is just for testing. You can change this to anything that you want. And submit. Here we go. Now I have SendGrid added, I have SparkPost, so I have 2 different pools, and you can keep on adding as many as you want. The default one is SparkPost, and I have 2 accounts under me using it, whereas SendGrid, I don't have any sub accounts. So you can see here, I am actually defaulting my account to one SMTP, while maybe I'm provisioning another. And perhaps I want to create different sending services for different accounts. So if you're an agency, this is a function for you. On the right side, you'll see which are the assigned accounts. In this case, I'll have all my sub accounts as an agency. So let's say I want to have this account using this pool, and now I have 1 under me. Very easy. If I want to change and make SendGrid as a default, all I gotta do is just click on Set as Default on the account, and that should be good to go. You see those 2 options: set it on my own account and set it for my for agency sub accounts in general. All right. So if you want any of them to be the default, you can go ahead and click that. In the future, if you add other accounts, they will automatically be using that pool. So this is it. I will summarize real quick. 1, you can add multiple SMTP pools and SMTP accounts to VBOUT. You can choose which one is the default for you, or what is the default for you and your sub accounts if and only if you're an agency. You have the ability to set which sub account is using which pool, If you use any of the predefined services, you'll have more in-depth tracking, whereas if you use custom, you might lose some of those bounce back tracking that we offer. So this is it, guys. Very powerful feature, well requested. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you.
In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add team members to VBOUT and assign different level of permissions to their account. From the top right of the screen, you're going to go to your drop-down, Users, and here you're going to see two options, which are Users and Workflow and Groups. Now, Admin Team is reserved only to multi-tier environments, particularly if you have an agency with sub-accounts, if you're a franchise and you're running multiple sub-accounts as their own licenses. So Admin Team has a different structure, and I cover that in a completely separate multi-tier module. In your case, you're going to see Users and Workflows, and you're going to have an option here called Add User. You can click on that, choose the user's photo. If you don't see it here, you can just upload it directly. Let me just pull something from my end. I highly recommend getting your team member pictures uploaded because this helps in terms of how things will show on pipeline managers and other places. All right, now you give obviously the full name, their email username. It has to be an email because they're going to get an invite. So I'm just going to do Rich. And by the way, Gmail support this sort of process. If you do Rich +1 +2, you have an alias to your inbox. It's a cool trick to kind of do multi-email testing. And you can see here, I don't have any groups. Groups is almost like a folder of pre-assigned permissions. So instead of having to create a user and every time assign a permission to them, you create a group and then you simply add each user to the group. This is popular when you have different departments and different users with different access levels. If you're a very small team of one or two people, this might not be necessary. Now, full access is going to be providing them access to the entire platform. That includes adding users, visiting your billing, settings, and all that stuff. So if you're sensitive about that, I would certainly use custom permissions. Here you're going to notice there is a drop-down with all the features. So if you want to reserve access for that user to one or two features, you can click on that feature here. There are some add-ons, so if you've installed some of our add-ons, this might be an additional option that shows up. There are some specific permissions. For example, if you don't want them to access settings or billing, what you do in this case, you can select all and then start deselecting whatever you don't want them to see, right? Very easy. It gets really granular, including if you like to give them very limited access to contacts or limited access to social media groups. This is like a folder of social media profiles they could manage, or even custom email lists. So you have, let's say, salesperson A is managing 5 email lists and salesperson B is managing multiple lists. This is a granular way of adding it. And you'll notice right here below, if I uncheck or I check this, some additional options are going to show. For example, now the custom list has disappeared and now it reappeared again. I would need to complete this. This is telling me what kind of lists or what are the names of the lists you'd like them to access. Currently, I have 4 lists. So let's say I just want this account to see Expo 2020 and Welcome Offer. Or of course, I can assign them to all the lists if I want. And if I have created my social groups, which I haven't so far, and assuming maybe I have one Facebook and one Twitter, and I want this user to only be able to access and manage these 2 profiles, it's going to show up in here as a group and you can put them in there. I'll cover this in depth more in my social media module. And that's it. The user is going to get an email. They will have to complete the process, set up their password. If for some reason they didn't get the email, they deleted it, you can always come back, edit, and set their password directly here. Of course, we do have a prompt on VBOUT so they can reset it themselves, but this is really an easy way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and just assume this is going to be a full access account and go ahead and submit. And it's done. Now going back to groups, I'll show you how easy it is. I can say this is marketing, custom permissions, and you can go in here. Same exact drop down is going to show up on here, and you can choose as a preset permission list what they can access directly here. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to select all, perhaps just deselect a couple of things from the bottom and submit. Oops. Okay, the custom list has to be unchecked. And these are some of the things you might notice. If you get any errors or anything, this might be like a misconfiguration somewhere along the way. Now, the next time I try to add a group, I go to my workflows, add user, and if I do custom permissions or marketing, it's going to show up, and now it's inheriting that group permission. It's as easy as that. Now, in terms of administrators, if you have agency users or corporate with multiple sub-locations, you might see one additional option here, which are what sub-accounts can they access. I have nothing here at this moment, but if I have multiple licenses under me, this will get really granular in terms of how many sub-accounts I can also manage. So this is how you can create team members inside VBOUT. In VBOUT, we have built an amazing integration with third-party apps, connectors, plugins, as well as a robust API infrastructure. In this video, I'm going to share with you where you can find all the plugins and connectors and how you can use our API documentation. So let's dive right into it. On the top right of the screen, under the drop-down, you're going to go to integrations. Now, there are different types of integrations. Some of them are native connectors to third-party CRMs like Salesforce, HubSpot CRM, and Zoho. These are called native connectors. By the time you watch this, we probably have additional CRM integrators that we've launched, like Insightly and more. We also have Zapier connector, which a lot of people are familiar with. It integrates seamlessly with thousands of apps, and a lot of our clients, including ourselves, we heavily use Zapier. So if you need to integrate with any popular platform out there, you can use Zapier for that. Now, disclaimer, you might need to pay them based on how you use them. This is completely outside the scope of VBOUT. We also have some native plugins. For instance, we have a WordPress plugin. We have WooCommerce plugin. This is where our e-commerce layer will take place, and I'll explain it as well. Magento plugin and a Shopify add-on. We integrate natively with Zoom and GoToWebinar. So if you're using these two conferences platforms, we play really nicely with them. We can get contacts, registrations, duration of attendance, and many more. And you can take this data, turn it into marketing data. Now here we have an API layer which works with the native platform, and we have a dedicated e-commerce integration, and this is quite important. I'm going to explain how you can access both. If you click on API, you're going to be redirected to pretty much the same page, except it took me directly to my API integration link right here. And you're going to notice I have a unique key. I'm not going to show it. This is actually quite sensitive. I don't recommend you display it publicly. It's almost like your password. You're going to need it once you connect VBOUT to third-party platforms in Zapier and other plugins. We also have an API logs that displays any failed calls as well as any successful calls you have done. So if you're working with your dev team, this will come quite handy. Now, some of the integrations or connectors with custom CRMs might require you to install add-ons. You can speak to your success managers or to our support to see if this is something that they could help you integrate with your plan, or if it's something that you need to add to your existing membership. In terms of our API documentation, you see a link right here, API documentation. it will take you to this page, which also resides on developers.vbout.com. You can access this either by searching it on Google or go to vbout.com, and in the bottom you'll find the link to that. Now here you have native items. For instance, you can publish social media posts directly from your own app. If you'd like to build something on that, there's a layer for that. You have an email marketing layer and contact layer. This is probably the most used one, where you can get your email lists on VBOUT and all the fields included in it. You can add contacts. You can edit them. You can sync contact. This is probably what I would use. The ability for you to find a contact and edit it or update the record, or simply add it if that record does not exist. There's also the ability to add tags to the profile, remove tags, and even get coupons. This is a quite unique functionality that we have. So this is your playground. If you're a developer, we can assist you as well, build your own apps and push it to our own ecosystem. Another custom API layer that we've built is an e-commerce integration, and this opens up a different page, and you have to go to the API option. Here you can literally build your own custom e-commerce integration, where we can capture carts, cart data, product details, when people remove items or add them to the cart, complete orders, and even intent data like product search, product views, and many more. This is a very powerful e-commerce, I would say, integration that allows you to take your e-commerce marketing to another level. There are things that you can do there that will only be unlocked if you add this layer. And as I showed you before, we have Magento out of the box, WooCommerce out of the box, as well as Shopify out of the box. We're going to be adding more in the future, but this will literally just with a couple of clicks let you track all the purchases and have everything added to the profile itself. Now, for you to get the e-commerce working, I've mentioned this before, under your settings, website tracker, just make sure that you have under the domain setting the e-commerce activated. Now, don't worry, my team will help you with anything that you need. So if you feel you need to find things in terms of how to integrate, what are the available resources, we'll get right on it and we will guide you through the process. So this is how you can use our integration layer. Hope it was helpful. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up web push notifications on your website. Now, if you're unfamiliar with web push notifications, it's actually the message that gets sent to your browser directly, because your browser on the web has its own unique address, or also known as a hash ID. The way this experience works usually is once you go here, you're going to land on the page. I've programmed it to 5 seconds later, give me a prompt, right, which is almost there, right here. The moment I allow, it shows me a secondary prompt. This is a default browser behavior, so I can't really configure the messaging. I cannot do much here. This is why the pre-prompt was there. I'm going to show you how you can configure that. And once you allow, now you can send me directly to my browser awesome messages right here on the right side or on the top, depending on the browser itself. Okay, we'll cover in-depth browser push notifications within automation. However, this is just a video to show you how you can implement it. Now, the first thing you need to do is navigate to your settings from the top right, click on website tracking code, and you have to have your domain added. And also you have to have it verified. In this example, I haven't verified the domain yet, so you see the X in red here. Now, when you click the drop down, I'm going to come back to my domain settings. And this is important because you have to have your browser push activated. The way a browser push works, it communicates through our tracker, because our tracker is really powerful. It sends all sorts of signals between VBOUT and your website visitors, and the other way around as well, your website visitors and VBOUT. So make sure this is activated right here. And again, the way I got to it is by clicking on the drop down, domain settings, and activating it from there. Once you do that, I'm going to see two additional options. This is the browser push settings and the analytics for the browser push. On the browser push settings, this is telling me the first message that I just showed you on this page, right? How long before we display it? Give it a little bit of delay. I prefer to do something in the realm of 15 seconds, just so people build rapport with your content, right? Some sort of an investment, because otherwise, if you simply blast it seconds in, a couple of seconds in, they probably don't even know who you are yet. You can show it to contacts or just anonymous. These are people who haven't filled out any forms yet. If they decline and they said no on that prompt, how long before you display it again? Do you want to do it on specific pages, all on all pages? Some companies, they want to be aggressive and they just launch it on all pages. Others, they specify their content and certain pricing pages and so on. So it's really up to you. I think in the beginning phases, try to be a little bit aggressive and see how that works out. You can measure it day by day, and I've seen companies even do it hour by hour, but that's depending on the traffic, of course. The opt-in design, that's the prompt that I received before, and this is fully configurable from this view. You can change this copy to match your branding, allow, no thanks, and you can even add your own logo. This is where you can just go in here, you can upload your own logo, you can design on Canva, which is fully integrated, or use any of our cool stock photos. Okay. The defaults can be changed later. This is just to pre-populate some settings when you're starting to create these messages down the road. If you fill this here, it saves you time. Otherwise, you can just override it later. And this is the last part, which is the most important. You have to download our SDK and import it back to your website. I'm going to show you how. So our SDK is a very simple code. It's one line of code. All it does, it communicates with the service worker, and it allows us to prompt that message. Okay. Don't get too much into the technology. It's one line of code file. It's called VBOUT-SDK.js. It's really important to maintain the structure. Don't change it, modify it, rename it. It has to be the same exact, okay? Now, once you download it and save it locally, you're either going to go to your backend if you have some sort of a file manager on WordPress, or you have some prompt to upload it. In my case, I'm just going to pull simple FTP. I have it right here. On the left side, I've downloaded it. On the right side, I have my repository on the website. So what I need to do is upload this one right here. If I do the second one, which has the bracket 1, that's not going to work. Make sure you, again, upload it as it is. And that's it. Now that it's uploaded to your root directory, again, it has to be on the root directory. It cannot be in a subdomain, subfolder, or anywhere else. That's all that is required for you to activate your web push, and it should be pretty much good to go. Of course, you can go ahead and test it once you do that. Verify that everything is working properly, and even send out messages to yourself. Now, you'll be able to see browser push analytics, how many people signed up. And one more thing, because some companies don't have the capability to upload these directly to their website, perhaps there are some limitations. We allow you to activate them on landing pages. Once you go into your landing page on the right side, you're going to see the same exact prompt for browser push settings. The only difference is that here it's a lot easier. There's no upload involved, just one click of a button. The rest of the stuff is the exact same. And then once you click on the browser push analytics, you're going to see exactly the sign up. This is me because I just signed up, and I can start sending messages to myself. Very simple. Your VBOUT account comes with your own dedicated file manager where you can upload and organize all your content from logos, PDF, documents, and much more. This will be shared across all the different features such as your social media posting, your email builder, landing page, visual editor, and much more. However, you can access it directly from email, and on the top you'll see File Manager. Now here you can have all your content displayed. I highly recommend you organize them in dedicated folders. Eventually you're going to really grow. You're going to have thousands of assets uploaded, and it will really help if you have your own folders organized properly. For instance, your logos can go in their own logo folder and so on. If you want to add additional folders, you can click on this option. Let's just call them PDFs, especially if you're doing downloadable gated content. And now I have a folder for that. I also have an animated GIF library that you can search. For example, I can do finance search and just get some funny photos for that. A stock photo library as well. A built-in icon library that you can search based on color and size. And if you have e-commerce integrated, I can also search all my product catalog that I've added into VBOUT. You simply switch to the store that's authenticated and you hit search. Okay, so all your product photos will be also shown on here. We have a deep integration with Canva, which I'm really a big fan of because I don't have to wait for my graphics designer anymore to provide graphics if I'm on the go. By simply clicking here, it's going to load my own Canva. And this is going to authenticate your logged in account. You can always choose any of their free options that they have. Of course, if you find something that's a royalty with a dollar cost, I'm all for that. I can also pull up my own content. So I have a whole bunch of things that I've already created, which I can tap into here. And of course, I can do search, text, elements, and much more. Okay. So these are some of the options that I have. Bam. Very easy. Once I save it, it goes directly into my file manager and it's ready for my use. There are some things you can also do on this view, including doing some write editing, getting the file location. Sometimes you need that if you're doing downloadables. For example, I can do show URL and copy that. I can also do a basic editing right from our own editor. We're using just a third-party plugin for that. So if I want to just draw something, add some caption, resize, that's also supported. And this is it. This particular file manager, again, is accessible everywhere else. Once you've set it up properly, you and your team members will be able to access it. Now, if you're an agency, you're going to have a shared folder option, which syndicates content to sub-accounts. But that's a topic for another session.